When I told you we had an awesome lineup, I was not kidding. Our last speaker is from New York, Dr. Mike Pappas. He is incredible. He was on our 20-hour Medicare for All Summit, and he was phenomenal. So thank you so much.
Woo! Big Mike! Can everybody hear me? All right, Joy hyped me up a little bit, so now I gotta try to deliver here after all of these fantastic speakers, all right? Okay, so hi everybody, my name's Mike. I'm a healthcare worker in New York City. I currently work at the nation's first overdose prevention center in New York, and I also work at a psychedelic medicine clinic in New York. We good? I can move like this if we good. There you go. Cool. Everybody can hear? Okay. Prior to working at these two places, I also worked at a federally qualified health center in the city, and I worked at a hospital in New York City. Also a member of Left Voice, which is a revolutionary socialist group with a publication that is part of an international network. Now, since I'm a socialist, we're going to get to talking about a word that's been said once or twice today. That's the C word. Okay, we're going to get to talking about capitalism a little bit during this speech. So everybody strap in. So to start out, and I think this is no surprise to anyone here, but just in case it is to anybody, I want to be really, really blunt and make things really, really clear. Our healthcare system is a complete piece of shit that doesn't remotely foster health or well-being. I was working in a hospital at the start of the COVID pandemic and saw this firsthand every single day. This fact was made even more clear as the pandemic progressed. I watched as COVID was allowed to spread throughout the population and people were sent back to work early despite clear lacks of safety. The pandemic clearly showed the public health system in this country, if we even want to pretend that we have one, exists to maintain health just enough that people's bodies can hold up to be exploited and for nothing else. This is because our labor is what makes things run, and our labor is what makes certain people in our society a whole lot of money. I mentioned that I now work at a harm reduction overdose prevention institution in New York City. Every day I'm working with poor and often homeless patients. The suffering of the patients that I see is a direct result of a society that prioritize profit accumulation over health. The plight of the patients I work with does not have to exist. We don't have to live in a world where a patient comes to see me with literal maggots eating away at wounds on his legs. We have the ability to provide everyone with housing, food, healthcare, everything they need in our society. But the society we live in creates different levels of hierarchy to ultimately benefit the ruling class and the system itself. There needs to be poverty, inequality, and vast levels of suffering in order to maintain this system. We need people living on the streets or people struggling to pay their rent or buy groceries so that the walking, breathing, human-sized piece of fecal matter like Jeff Bezos or some other billionaire shithead can have 15 yachts or buy a 10th mansion. Under capitalism, as our bodies deteriorate because of the various forms of violence inflicted on the individual, societal, or ecological level, this system finds ways to profit from even this. Our healthcare system today exists to extract monetary value from those bodies damaged by capitalism. Under this system, once we are old, disabled, or undergoing any condition that keeps us from being able to sell our labor, we are thrown to the side. Under this system, we are only valued for the money we can make for the ruling class. Today, the policies we see pushed by the ruling class and the organizations that they say are there to address our grievances are those that serve to maintain the system the way it is. This includes the lack of access to basic rights every human deserves, such as a healthcare system that actually cares about health. More recently, the attack on bodily autonomy should be a clear example of how little our society does to actually maintain well-being. Whether the attacks we see on trans people and queer people throughout the US, or the attacks we see on the access to reproductive rights throughout the country. These attacks mark huge advances and really a new phase in the right's effort to roll back anything from the right to abortion, to trans children's rights to exist, to children's rights to have education without being fucking shot in their schools. These attacks aren't going to end there, though. They will continue. They will continue because we live under this system of capitalism that sees each of our bodies as something to be controlled and exploited for the benefit of the capitalist class. We are seeing how under capitalism, any right won can be taken away from us at any moment. So the question then exists, what the hell to do about this? For some to push back against these attacks, the answer is to just elect more progressive politicians. For some, the question of how to get healthcare system we need comes with a similar type of answer. But I'm sorry to say that even the most progressive politicians, as long as they're part of a capitalist party, serve a capitalist system.
Say it again.
Our rights will never be won through appealing to capitalist politicians. They'll never be won through appealing to capitalist parties or international governmental organizations or domestic government organizations that are literally arranged to uphold the system to function the way that it does. Yep. Let's take one quick example to look at, which is the fight for abortion. As we see access to abortion attacked by the right, let's remember the reason this is even possible is because the Democrats, instead of codifying Roe, when they had the opportunity after opportunity, decided to use this fundamental right to an abortion as a bargaining chip to gain votes. And the Democratic Party has used similar tactics around healthcare reform. Vote for us, and maybe we will help push through Medicare for all. Maybe we will help you get some type of, humane healthcare system if you vote for us. Well, you know what? We need to finally say, fuck that and fuck them. We cannot let a capitalist party hold our fundamental right to healthcare hostage any longer, no matter what fake-ass progressive language X or Y politician uses. I don't give a shit if it's AOC, if it's Bernie. I'm sorry to say, we cannot let that party keep holding our rights hostage. We can't wait, ask, or expect capitalist politicians to give us the healthcare system we need, whether it is for the fight for free, safe, legal abortion or any right. We need to take examples of how others have mobilized around the globe to guide us. In terms of the right to abortion, in Argentina, for example, the right was won through fighting in workplaces, communities, schools, and in the streets. And we have to do that same thing here. A party like the Democratic Party is not on our side, and it's not going to help us get the healthcare system we need as a working class. This is the same party that helped uphold a global capitalist system that created the COVID pandemic and then allowed it to spread and kill people. And now is doing the similar shit with monkeypox. This is the same party that continues to give money to the racist, murderous institution of policing and to ICE. The same racist, murderous cops, by the way, that will be hunting down people for having illegal abortions in the future. So you know what? Fuck the police. I want to make that very clear. Fuck each and every one of them. There's no progressive police. No matter what they try to tell you, I don't give a shit if they fucking cater us through the streets or whatever. Fuck the police. The Democratic Party is the same party that continues to pass military budgets and expand the military-industrial complex, by the way, funding that then leads to massive harm being done to the health of those around the globe. And the Democratic Party is the same party that continues to pass policies to put us on the path towards ecological collapse and destruction. We need to accept these facts to recognize how the party is not the lesser of two evils, but acts as the graveyard of social movements, funneling the energy of movements right back into upholding the capitalist system. For example, it was the Democrats who took aspects of the Black Lives Matter movement and funneled the radical aspects of that movement right back into supporting electoral campaigns. Or today, as abortion rights are under attack, the Democrats use feminism as a buzzword, queer struggle and liberation, trans struggle and liberation, while telling us to simply keep our heads down and vote for them in the next election cycle, and then they'll handle it. It is these failures of the Democratic Party that then helps to create conditions where the reactionary right can go on the offensive. This is why the Democratic Party, along with the Republican Party, are both parties of capital that ultimately support and uphold the same system hurting us all. So let me repeat, neither party of capital will ever get us what we need. Our task should be not only to organize ourselves to fight back against the right-wing assault we're seeing throughout the country on all of our rights, but also to overcome the obstacle of the Democratic Party. We won't win our rights because of capitalist politicians. We will win our rights despite of capitalist politicians. Now, as workers, many of us may be part of unions or have friends or relatives in unions. Unions are supposed to be fighting organizations of the working class. But unions today far too often operate as top-down organizations not remotely controlled by the rank-and-file workers. And these misleaders of these organizations aren't on our side either. Our unions should be used as fighting organizations to mobilize workers in their workplaces and demand our rights. But instead, it's more beneficial for our unions to sit and bargain over shitty healthcare plans every fucking contract cycle and then call it a win and tell us all to pat ourselves on our fucking backs. Then we have to go out after that big fucking win and beg for X, Y, or Z to be covered by parasitic insurance companies. Keeping our healthcare limited to individual contract negotiations in workplaces also ends up ironically upholding the employment-based healthcare system that keeps us controlled and exploited by our bosses. It keeps people questioning whether to fight back and potentially lose their job in healthcare for them and their family, or stay quiet and keep being treated like complete shit. If we want any right, whether it's the right to a safe legal abortion, the right to a safe workplace, the right to health care under National Improved Medicare for All, we must mobilize ourselves where we are strongest, and that's organizing as one unified working class. Yeah. We have to organize not just in the streets, but in our workplaces where we wield our power most as a working class, fighting with our full power to get what we need. Those who don't have a union should follow the lead of Starbucks workers, Amazon workers, and other workers that are unionizing and unionize our workplaces. And if you do have a union, we have to take the power back from our union misleaders to make them fighting organizations again instead of tools of the Democratic Party to just gain votes. We should be organizing workplace committees and democratic assemblies to decide about what to fight and for what we want. We could have committees to organize workplaces to demand free, safe, legal abortion, or to fight for a healthcare system that benefits us all. But I want to be clear about something, and this might be hard for some to hear even in this group. We need more than National Improved Medicare for All. This should only be the smallest first step that we should be fighting for. Under National Improved Medicare for All, many of the industries harming the public well-being will still exist, and the capitalist system as a whole will still exist. We should fight for National Improved Medicare for All, but then continue to fight for a universal healthcare system under worker control. We need to fight for a healthcare system where the parasitic insurance executives, pharma executives, healthcare company executives literally no longer exist to profit off of our fucking lives. We need to fight for a system where every single aspect of healthcare delivery is run by and for the working class to maintain the well-being of the public, not maximize profit. But also, as we fight for a system that prioritizes health and well-being, we need to be clear. As long as capitalism continues to exist, we cannot have a society that fosters health or well-being. If our fight is only to reform or slightly improve healthcare, we are going to fail. A better healthcare system will not stop an economic system harming us all and destroying the planet. Capitalism is a disease that we must fight to eliminate from this planet altogether. And that fight will not be waged through either of the capitalist parties. Instead, that fight is in the hands of the working class. We need a party of the working class, not just here in the US, but a revolutionary party globally that can wage a fight against global capitalism and for socialism.
Vanguard. Fuck yeah.
I and my Left Voice comrades who are here today are in the fight with you all for Medicare for all, for a free public healthcare system under worker control, and for the elimination of the system harming us all, capitalism. Thank you.
Yes.